What up, everyone? Rebel Gray here for a channel update because it's now July, and I try to do these either at the end of the month or the beginning of a month, something like that. But I know that it's been a while since I've actually put out a video. I would say it's probably been like 2 weeks now or so. But that doesn't mean that I wasn't working on stuff. So I wanted to take a few moments to kind of pull back the curtain a bit and tell you what I've been up to and also what's planned for the near future, particularly for the summer. So since the last video, I've actually been working on a script for a new video, as I usually do. I usually have like 2 or 3 of them going on at a time. But this one, it's been kind of a head scratcher. And to be perfectly honest, I feel like it's a topic that I think is really better expressed as an article, if for no other reason than sort of formatting issues, I guess. I think also it would take forever to put formulas and numerical elements into OBS Studio in order to present things the way that they really need to be presented. And the topic itself was on dice probability, essentially. And the script itself is probably months old, and I have abandoned it so many times because it just seems really so daunting to get all that information into a single presentation. I've decided, I've considered, I should say, just doing character die probability first, and then talking about non-matched dice, and then analyzing interactions between die that have 33% to hit something, 50 and 66%. Provide some shorthand math, stuff like that. And then I thought, how is anyone going to do this stuff in their head during the game? And it just kind of seems like a lot of work for someone who isn't really up on math. And to be honest, I'm not the best mathematician either. I do some really basic calculations in my head, and that usually just kind of gets me through a lot of things. But yeah, it really did seem like a lot of work to do this video, and then also to explain it in such a way that you could just do it in the middle of a game, right, without being like you're slow playing or taking too long to do an action. So I then got to the idea that maybe I'll make some charts, and then I thought, okay, well, how those are going to look? Okay, so now there's going to be 5 charts. Is that too many? And you can sort of see where my problem goes with that video, and it's like 6 pages deep, and I'm never satisfied with it because I want to be able to put out really good information, accurate information, and there's so many things to consider to make sure that all of those sort of check boxes are satisfied. So I would say this is probably for the 4th time or so that I'm actually going to abandon that script, and I really don't know what to even keep or take away from it at this point. I have a friend looking at it who's going to hopefully give me some input on that. So I will likely come back to it later because I'm a masochist like that. But for now, I want to talk about actually 2 other things that have been going on alongside all of this frustration over that particular script, which really I've just kind of let get to me for no good reason. So I spent the better part of the last 2 weeks preparing for a store championship that took place this past Saturday, June 30th in Albany, New York. You're like, why Albany, you ask? Well, my wife plays D&D with her Albany friends every Sunday, and it's about an hour and a half, 2-hour drive away. So I figured, what the heck, let's just make a weekend out of it. So I spent a good amount of time making sure that the Rican Yoda deck was going to be ready for decks that had emerged since Worlds. Stuff like, not that Ray Ayla is new, but there's been some changes that some people like to make to that deck. Drive-by shooting is relatively new. And also, there's been a few ways that vehicle players were starting to learn to play around Mill a little bit. And of course, Kylo Anakin has seen such a showing in a lot of, even smaller events. So, I built the deck. I've had the deck for a while, I should say. And I went to, I just started playing. I found some opponents, probably no one that's super duper skilled, and I just played. And I went to 3 different stores to play games, and I had a blast. And I did meet some really good players, in addition to the ones that I know about at Highlander. And I just, I just played, and in the end, I think I'd swapped out about 4 card slots, and then I ended up just kind of putting them back the exact same way they were. And some of those card changes were in preparation for a mill matchup. But I ended up figuring out sort of how to play around Yoda Lando, which was something that I saw a few players actually trying out. But I learned how to play around it enough that I wasn't worried about needing things like All Quiet in the front. So it kind of really was just an exercise in futility in terms of deck rearrangement, but the extra 30 games or so kind of taught me quite a bit about, how people were finally seeing the end of this meta a little better, because I was in school for 6 months on Saturdays and basically missing all the quarterly tournaments that I have local. I was making it out to most Wednesdays down at the store to play local casual games, but I really was out of the mix for competitive. So I was really on the outside looking in, and I felt like I want to do something at the end of this meta to show that I know how to play this game. You guys listen to me talk a lot on these videos, and you're like, well, what has sort of Gray, what has he done? I mean, he's talked about winning this big cash tournament last year, and placing really well locally and stuff like that. And I did okay at the regional. 4-3 wasn't where I wanted to be, but yeah. So this meta too, it's 6 months old at this point, and the newest decks in it are kind of only about 2 months old or so, since Worlds. So, it all came down at at these sort of end of meta store championships, these big events, whether or not these pilots are up to snuff with those decks. And I guess my thought process on redoing the Rican deck a little bit was I wasn't expecting to play in a mirror match, and I'm glad actually at the store championship that I didn't, because I think that the mirror match is actually pretty rough without something like All Quiet in the front, because it comes down to just straight up luck of the draw and discard off the deck. A lot of that is like when you're playing vehicle decks, you hope that every time Rican mills a card or Yoda mills a card that you're snagging, a T-47 or a Fang Fighter or something like that, but it's all just luck. Thing is, there's so many dang vehicles in the deck, you're bound to hit probably half or more of them. So, because there's really just so few events in a lot of the vehicle decks, and drive-by shooting adds some additional complications to that, because there's actually upgrades in the deck as well. So they kind of have the ability to swing both ways. Character activations are important, and vehicles are important. So you kind of have to deal with all that at once, and that's a very challenging matchup. But anyway, the store championship is over, and if you've been following the Facebook page, I took second at the store championship there, and I feel pretty accomplished. I mean, I know that a store championship is still kind of the lowest tier of competitive play, but I guess to my credit, I prepped well, I played some very good opponents, and I finished in second with a mill deck at the end of an intensely aggro meta. I went 4-1 in the Swiss, taking my loss in the second round and I'll tell you what my matchups were. So I played Cad Bane Towson in the first round. That one came down to, basically 6 or 7 damage. I made a pretty big misplay, not playing fallback when I could have, to remove a lot of dice off the table. I don't know. I think it was my first sort of game on the day, and I needed a warm-up game, and I didn't get one. My second game was to Kylo Anakin, which was pretty handily over. It wasn't even close. I think he had like 4 in his hand and 7 in his deck at the end of the game. He hit a few of the Kylo activations. My third round was Yoda, Ray 1, and Maz, and that was Jeremiah. I won against him, but he actually ended up finishing third or fourth in the tournament. He did make top 4. My fourth game was against Kylo Anakin, and he only hit Anakin or Kylo's activation once the whole game. And the game ended on a double pass because he forgot to deck over his ancient lightsaber, but it didn't much matter because my next card was Force Meditation, and Rican was at full health. So, and I was going to fall back at the end of that round, so it didn't much matter. He wouldn't have had enough. He had no cards, and his max damage on the next round was 7 or so between Kylo's 2/2 or Anakin's 2/2, and Kylo's 2/2. I would have removed. I mean, I had so many removal cards. And then Hero Vehicles was my last round, and that was a pretty simple matchup in terms of, not that the player was bad, but I milled the crap out of his vehicles. I got really lucky with that. In the semis, I played Drive-By Shooting. Cliff LaBelle was running that. Very talented player. I lost my first game. I got crushed, and I was like, it's okay. I got 2. We're best of 3, so let's do this. Games 2 and 3 were much better. I was ahead the whole time. I got Chance Cube early, which I typically don't like to have early in the matchups. But in this case, I wanted a mulligan for it because I saw how my first game went with Ezra stealing my resources constantly. So I had emergency evac up every time I needed to play it. I had Mind Trick ready whenever I needed to play it, and I was really able to power through games 2 and 3 there. Both games ended just by like, you don't have enough dice to actually kill my characters and you're out of cards. So it's just one of those victories are very strong in Riken Yoda. In the finals, I was playing Eric Searles, and I lost the first game, came back to win the second, and then the third game, my deck just completely failed to actually give me the cards that I needed to draw. I got a Force Meditation out early in round 1, and then after that, I just kind of didn't hit anything in the order I needed it. I think I evac'd him once in the game. My Mind Tricks only came up after Yoda had gone down in round 3 or 4. So just bad draws, completely killed the game for me. But I'm happy with the second place win, and I'll just be glad with that. And I will be at the Danbury, Connecticut Store Championship on Saturday, July 14, in case anyone wants to meet up and play some Destiny there. I will totally be bringing out a brand new deck for Way of the Force. I don't know what it is yet, but since the set releases tomorrow, there's already a few decks that I have in mind that I would really like to check out, and they are mill decks. So be ready to lose your cards. That is something you're going to have to deal with if you play me. All right, so with that in the books, there's just one final thing to tell you about, and it's the summer plans. So right now I'm in the process of getting approval from a few other content creators regarding a new series of videos that I'm going to be shooting called the Summertime Spoofs. And it's a satire series where I'm going to be acting as other content creators, providing content in their style with a comedic twist from my point of view. So it's going to be like this sort of blended thing. So if you've seen other content creators do videos and stuff like that, you're going to see me presenting stuff the way that they do, but sort of in this comedic fashion, but with the utmost respect to all of them, because for a lot of these other content creators, they are the people who inspired me to get into content creation. And, this is the highest form of flattery, really, is to do something like this. So it will be with much respect that I do these videos, and they will be approved ahead of time by these content creators as well before they are posted out for you. And in order to solicit that permission, I actually sent out an email about a week ago detailing that plan to a few different content creators. I'm not going to tell you who, because I want you to be surprised, and I want you to have fun with these videos. And now that's not to say that's going to be that's all I'm doing this summer, because we do have a new set dropping tomorrow, like I said, and there's going to be the usual coverage for that stuff. The Summertime Spoofs project, however, has been something that I think I ran past my wife sometime in like February, maybe January. I didn't have a name for the series yet. I was just going to start, doing these one by one, but this cute little name sort of worked for me. And also I need the time to do it. And now that I have a little bit more time, I feel like I'm going to do some funny production stuff and just, explore the comedic space a little bit. And maybe people will maybe want to know me for that. I don't know. But anyway, when I told my wife the idea, she thought it would be really funny, because she listens to those podcasts with me sometimes in the car begrudgingly. She's not really into podcasts. But she agreed, you should just do it and see what it's like. So I'm going to do it because she's supporting me to do it. And all those, and I've already got approvals from 4 out of 5 content creators to do the videos as well. So it's going to happen. I'm not really sure when the first video is coming, but when it does, rather, you'll see it. It'll be on the YouTube channel, and I will post it on Facebook, of course. Alrighty, folks. So that's literally everything that has been on my mind that doesn't belong elsewhere. I know you're looking forward to this set, and really just who wouldn't be, right? I mean, we've had this meta is so old. It's time for a change. It's exciting. It's going to be a blast to finally get our hands on all these new cards that we've been sort of sifting through over the past week. And I'm super stoked to head to my store tomorrow night and have a launch party, because that's what we're doing at Highlander. And it's so exciting just to crack open packs. All right, so until we meet again, folks, take it easy. Open your packs. Don't be too upset with the crappy legendaries you might get. And, of course, may the Force be with you.